The day Jackie Robinson stepped onto the field as a Brooklyn Dodger on April 15, 1947, marked a watershed moment in both baseball and American history. Robinson's debut ended more than 50 years of racial segregation in Major League Baseball and set the stage for the broader civil rights movement that would sweep the nation. Here's the story of that moment and its far-reaching impact. Jackie Robinson's historic debut on April 15, 1947, took place during a time when America was deeply divided by race, and segregation was a harsh reality across much of the country. The setting for this monumental moment goes far beyond the baseball diamond and speaks to the larger social, political, and cultural landscape of mid-20th century America. The state of America in 1947. In the 1940s, the United States was grappling with the after-effects of World War II and the deep-seated racial tensions that persisted across the country. Although the war had helped unite the country in a common cause, African-American soldiers returned home only to find that the freedoms they had fought for abroad were not guaranteed to them at home. Jim Crow laws. In many parts of the United States, particularly in the South, the Jim Crow system of racial segregation was in full force. These laws enforced the separation of black and white people in nearly every aspect of life: public transportation, schools, restaurants, and of course, sports. While Major League Baseball was not bound by Jim Crow laws, its unwritten color line had excluded black players from the league since the late 19th century. Economic and social inequality. Black Americans were regularly denied basic rights, decent jobs, and educational opportunities. Racism, both institutional and personal, was widespread. While there were gradual changes happening, particularly in the North, the fight for civil rights was still in its early stages, and the struggles for equality were pervasive. Rising tensions. Despite these challenges, there were growing calls for racial integration and equal rights. During the war, African American soldiers, workers, and civil rights activists had challenged the status quo. The war had also drawn attention to the hypocrisy of fighting against Nazi racism abroad while maintaining segregation at home. This mounting pressure for change set the stage for Jackie Robinson's debut as a major league player. Baseball's racial divide. Baseball, often referred to as America's pastime, was deeply reflective of the nation's racial divisions. Since the 1880s, Major League Baseball had been segregated, with black players barred from participating. African American and Afro-Latin players had no choice but to compete in the Negro Leagues, where they developed their own leagues, teams, and stars. While the talent in the Negro Leagues was undeniable, these players were denied the recognition, compensation, and opportunities their white counterparts enjoyed. The Negro Leagues established in the early 20th century, the Negro Leagues were a showcase for the immense talent of black players. Stars like Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and Cool Papa Bell became legends in these leagues, drawing large crowds and offering a style of play that was fast-paced and dynamic. However, the leagues suffered from underfunding and lack of exposure compared to Major League Baseball, and the players, despite their skill, faced a constant struggle for fair pay and recognition. MLB's color barrier. Major League Baseball's color line had been informally enforced since the late 1800s. While there was no official policy banning black players, team owners and league officials adhered to an unwritten rule that kept African American players out of the league. As a result, Major League Baseball remained an all-white institution, denying black players the chance to compete at the highest level of the sport. Branch Rickey and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The push to break baseball's color barrier was spearheaded by Branch Rickey, the president and general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Rickey, a man of strong moral convictions and a forward thinker, had long believed that baseball segregation was not only immoral, but detrimental to the game. His vision was to integrate baseball, not just for social justice, but also because he knew there were talented black players who could improve his team and win championships. Rickey's vision branch. Rickey wasn't content to simply talk about breaking the color barrier, he intended to make it happen. He knew, however, that the first black player in Major League Baseball would need to be more than just an outstanding athlete. This player would have to endure the intense scrutiny, racism, and hostility that would come with integrating such a high-profile sport. Rickey sought a player who had not only the physical talent but also the mental strength and emotional restraint to withstand the inevitable barrage of hate, choosing Jackie Robinson. After scouting players from the Negro Leagues, Rickey selected Jackie Robinson, a standout athlete who had excelled in baseball, football, basketball, and track. Robinson, a former officer in the United States Army, had already demonstrated a strong will and determination, particularly in standing up to racial injustices. In 1944, Robinson had been court-martialed for refusing to move to the back of a segregated bus during his military service, an incident in which he was ultimately acquitted. Rickey believed Robinson had the strength of character to handle the intense challenges he would face. A secret agreement. When Rickey signed Robinson to a contract with the Dodgers in 1945, he made one critical demand. Robinson had to promise that for the first few years of his career, he would not retaliate against the racism he would inevitably encounter. Robinson would have to endure racial slurs, threats, and physical intimidation, all without responding in kind. Robinson agreed, knowing that his success or failure would have far-reaching implications for the future of racial integration in baseball and beyond. Brooklyn, where the Dodgers were based, was a melting pot of immigrant communities and working-class families. While the borough was not immune to racism, it had a reputation for being more progressive and open to change than other parts of the country. This made it a fitting location for Jackie Robinson to break baseball's color barrier. Ebbets Field, the home of the Dodgers, was a beloved ballpark known for its intimate atmosphere and passionate fan base. On April 15, 1947, it became the site of a defining moment in American sports history. That day, thousands of fans, both black and white, packed into the stadium. Some aware of the significance of the event, others simply there to watch their beloved Dodgers. While Robinson's debut was a baseball milestone, it was also a profound moment in the larger context of the civil rights movement. The early 1940s had seen the beginning of increased activism by African Americans for equality, particularly with the establishment of groups like the Congress of Racial Equality, or CORE, and the growing influence of the NAACP. The fight for desegregation in the military and in public institutions was gaining momentum, and Robinson's presence in Major League Baseball became a symbol of that broader struggle. Racial integration in the Armed Forces. President Harry Truman would not officially desegregate the U.S. military until 1948, 1 year after Robinson's debut, but the push for integration was already gaining traction. Robinson's military service and his stand against discrimination gave him first-hand experience in confronting systemic racism, preparing him for the challenges ahead in baseball, public opinion, and media. Robinson's entry into MLB was met with a wide range of reactions. The black press hailed him as a hero and a trailblazer, while some white sports writers were cautiously optimistic. However, there were many in both the media and the baseball establishment who were vehemently opposed to integration. The story of Robinson's debut was not just a sports story, it was a national news event, reflective of the deep racial tensions and the ongoing battle for civil rights in America. The moment Jackie Robinson stepped onto the field on April 15, 1947, it was more than just the beginning of a baseball game. It was a seismic shift in American culture. The courage and determination of both Robinson and Branch Rickey in challenging baseball's color line reflected the growing desire for racial equality across the country. Robinson's debut was a catalyst for change, not only in baseball but in society at large. It proved that integration was possible in one of the country's most cherished institutions, and gave hope to millions who were fighting for equality in other aspects of life. It was the beginning of a new era, not just for baseball, but for America's ongoing quest for justice and fairness. Branch Rickey's decision to sign Jackie Robinson in 1945 and break Major League Baseball's long-standing color barrier was not only a bold sports decision, but also a socially transformative act. Rickey's actions went beyond the baseball diamond, making a profound statement about racial equality during a time when segregation was deeply entrenched in American society. Here's an in-depth look at the significance of Rickey's move and the challenges he faced. Who was Branch Rickey? Branch Rickey was one of the most innovative and forward-thinking executives in baseball history. Born in 1881 in Ohio, Rickey had a strong moral and ethical grounding that shaped his approach to life and baseball. A devout Methodist and a man of deep religious conviction, he believed in fairness, equality, and the importance of character. These beliefs would play a critical role in his decision to challenge baseball's color barrier. Rickey had an extensive career in baseball as a player, manager, and executive, but he is best remembered for his contributions to developing the game, both strategically and socially. He revolutionized the sport by creating the modern farm system, which allowed teams to develop talent in their minor league affiliates. His success in identifying and nurturing players earned him a reputation as one of the sharpest minds in baseball. However, Rickey's most daring move came when he decided to integrate Major League Baseball, a sport that had been racially segregated for over 50 years. Since the 1880s, baseball had been a strictly segregated sport. The informal yet unbreakable rule in Major League Baseball was that no black player could join a major league team, while African American and Afro-Latin players showcased their immense talent in the Negro Leagues. The door to the majors remained firmly shut. For decades, the exclusion of black players was accepted as a given, even as black athletes thrived in other areas of society and sports. The Negro Leagues were full of stars, players like Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, and Cool Papa Bell, whose skills rivaled and often exceeded those of white players in the major leagues. Despite the growing calls for integration from the black community and progressives, baseball owners and league officials resisted change, clinging to the racial divide. By the mid-1940s, the social and political climate in America was slowly shifting. World War II had a significant impact on the fight for racial equality, as black soldiers returned from the war demanding the freedoms and rights they had fought for abroad. The hypocrisy of fighting against fascism and racism overseas while practicing racial segregation at home was becoming harder to ignore. The burgeoning civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and sports, as a major part of American culture, could not remain untouched. Branch Rickey's desire to integrate baseball was motivated by both moral conviction and competitive ambition. He saw the injustice of the color barrier as an affront to American ideals, and believed that baseball, as the national pastime, had a responsibility to lead by example. However, Rickey was also a shrewd businessman who recognized that integrating baseball could give the Brooklyn Dodgers a competitive advantage. Rickey's strong Christian faith played a significant role in his decision to break the color barrier. He believed that excluding talented players based on race was morally wrong and ran counter to the principles of fairness and equality. Rickey saw the potential to change the game and make a broader societal impact, viewing baseball as a microcosm of American life. To him, integrating baseball was not just about winning games, it was about doing the right thing. Rickey was also a forward-thinking strategist. He knew that there were exceptional black players in the Negro Leagues who could help the Dodgers win championships. By integrating baseball, he could tap into an entirely new pool of talent that other teams were ignoring. In doing so, he hoped to put the Dodgers ahead of their rivals. Rickey's vision for integration wasn't just about morality, it was also a calculated business decision that would change the competitive landscape of baseball. Selecting Jackie Robinson. Branch Rickey understood that the first black player in Major League Baseball would need to be more than just a great athlete. This player would face extreme scrutiny, racial hatred, and physical danger. The person chosen to break the color barrier would need to have exceptional resilience, poise, and mental toughness. The search for the right man. Rickey scouted several players from the Negro Leagues, but he knew that talent alone would not be enough. The first black player would have to deal with relentless racial abuse from fans, opposing players, and even teammates. He needed someone who could handle this pressure with dignity, someone who wouldn't fight back in the face of provocation, and someone who could act as a role model for future generations. Why Jackie Robinson? Rickey settled on Jackie Robinson, a multi-sport star and a man of integrity who had already faced racism head-on. Robinson had served in the U.S. Army and had been court-martialed for refusing to move to the back of a segregated bus. He was later acquitted. Rickey was impressed not only by Robinson's athletic ability, but by his character and his ability to remain composed in the face of discrimination. The famous meeting, "I need a man with guts enough not to fight back." In 1945, Branch Rickey called Jackie Robinson into his office for a fateful meeting. Rickey knew that Robinson would face unimaginable hostility from fans, opposing players, and the media. He made it clear to Robinson that for the first 2 years, he would have to endure this abuse without retaliating, no matter how difficult it became. Rickey's challenge. Rickey famously acted out the abuse Robinson would likely face, shouting racial slurs and insulting him to test his reaction. He needed to be sure that Robinson would not lash out, as doing so could potentially derail the integration effort and reinforce racist stereotypes. Rickey told Robinson, "I'm looking for a ball player with guts enough not to fight back." Robinson's agreement. Robinson accepted Rickey's challenge. He promised to stay composed, no matter what was thrown his way. This agreement between the two men was essential to the success of integration. Rickey believed that if Robinson could rise above the abuse and prove his worth on the field, it would help pave the way for future black players in the major leagues. The signing and its impact. On October 23, 1945, Branch Rickey signed Jackie Robinson to a contract with the Brooklyn Dodgers AAA affiliate, the Montreal Royals. This marked the beginning of Robinson's journey to the major leagues, but it also sent shockwaves through the baseball world and beyond. Public reaction. The signing was met with a wide range of reactions. The black press hailed Robinson as a hero, celebrating the end of baseball's color barrier. Many civil rights leaders saw it as a victory in the broader struggle for racial equality. However, not everyone was supportive. Segregationists and many white baseball fans were outraged. Even some of Robinson's future teammates on the Dodgers were initially against playing alongside a black player. Montreal Royals, 1946. Robinson spent the 1946 season with the Montreal Royals, where he immediately proved that he was ready for the majors. He led the team to the International League Championship, batting .349 and stealing 40 bases. His performance silenced many critics and showed that he was more than capable of excelling at the highest levels of the sport. April 15, 1947, Robinson's Major League debut. On April 15, 1947, Jackie Robinson made his debut for the Brooklyn Dodgers, becoming the first black player in Major League Baseball since the 19th century. The historic moment took place at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, and while Robinson faced enormous pressure and racial hostility, he handled the situation with grace and determination. Breaking the barrier, Robinson's first game was just the beginning of a groundbreaking career. He would go on to have a stellar rookie season, batting .297 and leading the Dodgers to the National League pennant. His performance earned him the inaugural Rookie of the Year award, but more importantly, it proved that black players could compete and excel at the highest level. The fallout, the integration of baseball was met with resistance from many corners. Some opposing teams and fans openly expressed their disdain for Robinson's presence. He endured racial slurs, threats, and attempts to injure him on the field. However, as the season progressed, Robinson gained the respect of many players and fans for his extraordinary talent and restraint. The legacy of Rickey's bold move. Branch Rickey's decision to sign Jackie Robinson not only changed the course of baseball history, but also had a profound impact on American society. It challenged the deeply ingrained racism of the time and showed that integration was possible in a highly visible and beloved institution, baseball's integration. After Robinson's success, other teams began to sign black players, and by the mid-1950s, the color barrier had been shattered across Major League Baseball. Stars like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Roy Campanella followed in Robinson's footsteps, and the game was forever transformed by their talent. Civil rights movement. Rickey's bold move and Robinson's success were catalysts for the broader civil rights movement. Robinson's integration into baseball was seen as a significant victory for racial equality, and it helped inspire the fight for desegregation in other areas of American life, including schools, public transportation, and the military. Branch Rickey's legacy. Branch Rickey is remembered as a visionary and a pioneer, not just for his contributions to baseball strategy, but for his moral courage in challenging the status quo. His decision to sign Jackie Robinson was one of the most important moves in the history of American sports, and it cemented his legacy as a champion of equality and justice. Rickey's bold move was not without risk, but it paid off in ways that transcended baseball. His partnership with Robinson changed the face of the sport and helped advance the cause of racial integration in America. While Jackie Robinson is often celebrated for breaking Major League Baseball's color barrier, his legacy extends far beyond that historic moment. Robinson's on-field excellence, his raw athletic ability, fierce competitiveness, and exceptional skill proved that he wasn't just a trailblazer, he was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. His performance on the field was the ultimate answer to the doubters and critics who questioned whether a black player could succeed in Major League Baseball. His combination of speed, power, defensive ability, and mental toughness made him a dynamic player and a force to be reckoned with in every aspect of the game. Early baseball career and skills. Before joining the Dodgers, Jackie Robinson had already demonstrated his athleticism and versatility. He was a standout in multiple sports, including football, basketball, track, and of course, baseball. This multi-sport background contributed to his unique skill set as a baseball player. His time with the Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro Leagues and the Montreal Royals in the minor leagues helped develop his instincts and baseball intelligence, setting the stage for his transition to the majors. Natural athlete, Robinson's all-around athleticism was one of his most remarkable attributes. His speed, strength, and agility were noticeable on the field, and he brought a level of dynamism that was rare in baseball at the time. He had the ability to beat opponents with both his bat and his legs, creating a new style of play that emphasized aggressive base running and constant pressure on opposing defenses. Mental fortitude. Perhaps Robinson's greatest asset wasn't a physical skill but his mental toughness. He entered Major League Baseball knowing that he would face unrelenting hostility, but he never allowed the pressure to affect his performance. His ability to stay focused on the game while enduring racism and abuse was nothing short of extraordinary. Rookie season, 1947. A star is born. Jackie Robinson made his Major League Baseball debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947, and he quickly proved that he belonged. In his rookie season, Robinson excelled at the plate, in the field, and on the base paths, helping lead the Dodgers to the National League pennant. His success on the field provided the most powerful response to those who opposed the integration of baseball. Batting and offensive contributions. Robinson finished his rookie season with a .297 batting average, leading the league in stolen bases with 29 and scoring 125 runs. He also hit 12 home runs and drove in 48 RBIs, showcasing his ability to hit for power and average. Robinson's offensive contributions made him one of the most valuable players in the National League. Base stealing and aggression. Robinson was known for his aggressive base running, which was revolutionary at the time. He stole bases with a daring style, often taking extra bases or drawing errors from opposing teams by forcing them into mistakes. His knack for stealing home, a rare and exciting play, became a trademark of his playing style. His boldness on the base paths added an electrifying element to the Dodgers' offense and put constant pressure on opposing pitchers and catchers. Rookie of the Year. Robinson's outstanding rookie season earned him the inaugural Rookie of the Year award, a fitting honor for the player who broke new ground for black athletes in Major League Baseball. His performance silenced many of his critics and demonstrated that he was more than capable of excelling at the highest level. Fielding excellence. In addition to his offensive prowess, Robinson was a superb defensive player. While he started his career at first base, he was a natural middle infielder, and his skills were on full display when he eventually moved to second base. Robinson's on-field excellence was the ultimate proof that talent transcends race, and his legacy as a player is matched only by his impact as a trailblazer for civil rights and racial equality.